Welcome. My name is Diane Mokual. I'm the Molokai High School librarian. And on behalf of Big Read, NEA Big Read Hawaii, we welcome you to Behind the Scenes and Between the Pages, an interactive book discussion with author and artist Caren Loebel-Fried. She's from Volcano, and she's going to share how art and stories can inspire people of all ages to care about wildlife. So drawing from her adventures in counting millions of albatross on Midway Atoll to camping in a luau, which is a Hawaiian petrel, which is a bird colony atop Mauna Loa, to sketching bird skins in Bishop Museum, Caren creates compelling art, books, and educational guides. So we're going to learn about her bookmaking process for Manu, the boy who loved birds, and a perfect day for albatrosses. And she's even going to do a live block printing demonstration. Welcome, Caren.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I'm thrilled to be part of Big Read, and it's been a lot of fun so far. We did a presentation on Tuesday for Keiki, and now I'm really excited to share with you all about behind the scenes and how I make books and how I try to inspire people of all ages to care about wildlife. I mean, that, just like full disclosure, that's behind my work. That's what drives my work. The hope that I can really just get people interested in wildlife and hopefully interested in conservation and just to feel more part of it. I mean, the thing that's so interesting to me when I visit classrooms in Hawaii, it kind of blows my mind how a lot of kids really don't tune into how special Hawaii is. And I guess that's a normal kind of thing when you're young. You take things for granted. But anyway, another challenge that I have in my work is sharing with people about animals or places that they might never have the opportunity to go, like Midway. I get to go to Midway Atoll every other year at this point and hang out with albatrosses and all kinds of other wildlife. So in my work, I try to give people a real sense of the place and an experience of it as much as possible in book form or art form or story form. So anyway, I want this to be an interactive presentation. In other words, please unmute yourself or raise your hand or be involved. If you have questions, I'm also always looking for your feedback because my work is for teachers and librarians and parents and all people that want to learn and share. So if you have any suggestions for me about what I can do in my work to make it more accessible, anything, any ideas that you have, I feed off of that. And you might notice that I do listen, and I've made changes and I've added to the work that I do from feedback that I get from you all. So please, I'm open to it. And if you are seeing this after the fact, if you're watching the recording, you can go ahead and email me. My email address is on my website. And also I wanted to share, I don't want to forget to say that I have a lot of videos on my YouTube site. My YouTube is, if you just plug my name into YouTube, you'll find all kinds of educational videos for young people, for families, for all ages, really. So presentation on albatross, and I have conversations with really great biologists. So anyway, check it out, and thank you for coming. So I thought that I would start with this video that I put together that's a little bit about albatrosses, because for me, it's so obvious. I mean, I can't imagine that anybody would not be in love with albatrosses. But, it might just be me. I mean, not everybody is in love with a big bird. But anyway, I wanted to show you some of the things that I find particularly endearing about albatrosses. So I'm going to share my screen, and I'm going to hope this works. Here it comes. And there is a little bit of music and some soundtrack. So anyway, here we go.
Sorry, quick question.
Yes,
So do they take turns to sit on the eggs?
They do.
Oh, so sweet.
It's great. The males and the females are both extremely, they equally participate in taking care of the egg, incubating the egg. And then after the chick hatches, they also take turns incubating or keeping the chick warm until the chick can maintain his or her own body temperature. And then once the chick is warm, can stay warm enough, then both parents go off and bring back food. It takes 2 adults to raise 1 chick, and they only have 1 chick per year. Did that answer your question? So let's see. Cindy asked, where's the short-tail found? Okay, such a nurturing species. I know. And they mate for life, for the life of one or the other bird. And it's pretty cool. They go off and when they come back and meet each other every year, they arrive within days of each other, and they dance when they see each other. So that really exuberant dance that you saw, they do that when they see each other. I thought that was so cool. I know, totally, totally. Just yeah, yeah.
What happens if one doesn't make it back?
Right. So they'll wait. I mean, you see it when you're on Midway, you'll see one albatross hanging out, waiting. And then they will usually go off and then come back the next year and find a new mate, hopefully. But it's interesting. I mean, they're very selective, just like we are. It's got to be the right fit. So yeah, they're a lot like humans, the best part of humans anyway. So I wanted to share with you a little bit of behind the scenes of 3 of my book projects having to do with birds. The first one is A Perfect Day for an Albatross. You probably know I have a bunch of books that I did previous to all my bird books, the legends books, and I did a couple of books with Auntie Nona Beamer, Naupaka and Puapolu. And I did the legends, Lono and Legend of the Gourd. And then I started to I've always been into birds, but I saw that books could be a way to encourage people to be more curious about birds if they aren't already. So Perfect Day for an Albatross was a book that I wrote after spending time on Midway Atoll. So this is a little slideshow I wanted to share with you that I go behind the scenes on the making of Albatross and decisions that I made in the art and in the story. So I thought that might be interesting for you to see, and feel free to ask any questions. Okay, here we go. So are you seeing the first slide in my, you see me with a bunch of albatrosses?
Yes, very nice.
Excellent. Okay, thank you. So as you can see, there's just a few albatross around me because albatross nest in colonies, just like humans. We like to be together where we live, and albatrosses do the same. And there's the reasons why is because it's a way to meet others of your species, and you have a certain protection when there's a whole bunch of you together. And also youngsters can learn by observing those around them. So as you can see, I got to do some sketching while I was there. Okay, I'm trying to advance the screen. And there we go. Whoops. So, oh, sorry. Okay, now it's working. Midway, if you're not familiar with Midway Atoll, it's where a pivotal war was fought, World War II. It's about 1,100 miles from Oahu, northwestern Hawaiian Islands, Papahānaumokuākea. I went out there to volunteer with the Albatross census team. Once a year, a group of people go out and count all of the nests, the active nests. So that means each pair of albatrosses that lay an egg, we were counting that one active nest. You got to see some of the cool behaviors of albatross. Here they are in photographs, talking to their egg and being curious about me. That's what blew me away. So here I was. I had the extreme good fortune to be with an animal that probably had never seen a human before. And that curiosity was so beautiful because animals learn to be afraid of humans, which they really need to. But it's pretty cool to be in a place where they're not afraid of us. So this was that black-footed albatross. So beautiful. I caught a moment where a parent was having eye contact with the chick. Of course, the chick was just hungry. Kept on trying to get the parent to feed him. I was working on art for U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, and they ended up using it on T-shirts and tote bags and stuff. And I wanted to capture in this video, so sort of tell the story of Midway, the wildlife, the Hawaiian history, the U.S. military history, well, actually the world military history, and all the different wildlife that occurs on Midway. And then after I left, I realized this was a great opportunity to teach children and families about these incredible birds. So I decided that I knew that I needed to have the story be about, in particular, albatross, because I didn't want it to be just a natural science nonfiction book, because to me, a narrative, a story gets you engaged. And I really wanted it to be about one albatross. So her name is Malie, which means calm in Hawaiian, because they really seem like they're calm the way they're sitting. They sit for 2 weeks, sometimes more, waiting. So as an incubating adult will wait for two to 3 weeks for the other adult to come and relieve them, because they can't leave the egg. It won't make it. The chicken side won't make it. So they get into this kind of meditation. It's like a stupor, because they're very hungry and thirsty, I'm sure, by the end of those 2 or 3 weeks. I've had the chance to show the cool things about albatrosses, like the dance. And dancing is a big part of how they get to know each other, and probably they can tell how fit they are and how well they fit together. So the dancing is really important to them for picking their life mate. I also saw tons and tons of really horribly painful looking landings where they just crash and tumble. So you saw that, the perfect landing on that video. I also wanted to show how they take off from land the same way that they take off from the sea. They just tap, tap, tap across the surface of the ocean and off they fly. I also love the way they talk to their eggs. And it turns out that when the chick hatches, already he or she can recognize the sound of the parents' voices. So all of that talking makes a difference. And it reminds me of like when a woman is pregnant, she'll talk to her baby, or the dad or the other parent will talk to the baby. So it's the same. It's pretty neat. It also blew me away how even after sitting for so long, the mate will return, and the sitting albatross, after sitting so long, you would think would be very anxious to leave. Well, actually, I saw so many times the sitting albatross did not want to leave. And I made that part of the story where Malie is sitting on the nest, but she didn't want to leave. She was very reluctant to leave. So it took a lot of prodding. And I would see this when I was on Midway. The other adult would literally be trying to shove the sitting adult off the nests, like, my turn. I also had the opportunity to show how they feed. So they don't dive into the water for food. They just land and they sit and they paddle their feet around and they grab squid. That's squid and flying fish eggs are their favorite food. And it's interesting because these animals, the squid, they live mostly at the bottom of the ocean. And at night is when they come up to the surface. They have a vertical migration every day. So what a lot of albatrosses do is they do their hunting at night. And these squid are bioluminescent. So they actually flash colored lights, so that the albatross will paddle around, sometimes in a circle, and the squids will come up and the albatross will just grab them. At the back of the book, there's some games like the Find Me, where you can look for different things within the book pages. And we also included how can we help, different ideas for that, and where you can see a Laysan albatross. I worked with Cornell Lab on this book, and it was wonderful to be able to share educational aspects in the back. And then they developed a wonderful educational guide. And this is available on their website, and also you can find it through my own website, this free educator information. And it's wonderful. So please have a look and go ahead and download it. And here's showing what the educational guide looks like. after I finished the book, Seymour Marine Discovery Center in Santa Cruz, California, reached out to me, and we developed an interactive, excuse me, an interactive educational exhibit about Albatross based on this book. And it was up for 9 months, which was really cool and really fun. And then after that, Exhibit Envoy picked up the exhibit, and they made it so it could be a traveling exhibit. It went to several museums, and then it was a virtual exhibit during COVID, which I guess it still is available. I'm just looking back at questions. Carol
Oh, wait, I
wrote,
just heard you say it's a traveling exhibit. Is it still going on? Can we like request
yes,
it?
it is. If you go to Exhibit Envoy,
Yeah.
then you can get information about having the exhibit travel. And actually, I before COVID, I had begun talking to some of the libraries. I thought it would be really cool if it came to Hawaii and traveled around to different libraries and schools throughout Hawaii, because the expense of bringing it to Hawaii from California, it would be shared by everybody. But Joy, I can share that information with you.
Yeah, because I think some of our libraries might be interested. Of
Oh,
course, we are
fantastic.
also interested in keeping the cost down.
I know.
Yeah.
No, I'll give you the information. That's a
Okay,
great idea.
thank you.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So how long is their dance? It goes on and on. They dance all day and all night, especially the like teenage ones that don't have a mate. It's unbelievable. I mean, so we are there counting. We count all day long, and then of course at night we're exhausted. And they are the albatrosses all night. They're vocalizing and dancing. So how long? As long as it takes. Yeah, wild. What are flying fish eggs? Yes. So I don't know if you've ever seen flying fish, but they're actually fish that look like they fly. They have we can see them sometimes leap from the ocean and then do a little bit of a flight and then go down back into the ocean. And their eggs are, they float on the surface, and they're attached. They lay their eggs and attached to things that float. Sadly, the things that float now in the ocean are plastic. So a lot of times albatross eat the plastic, which is bad. Okay, so that is the end of this slideshow. I hope you enjoyed it. Next, I'm going to share with you about Manu, behind the scenes of Manu. And once again, please go ahead and ask any questions that you have as they come up.
I just have to laugh because I noticed you resized the Hawaiian version.
Yes, well, on Tuesday, when we did our presentation, there was one little boy he was so smart and so funny, and he noticed that didn't he seem like he was a little bit bored? He was kind of laying back where I could only see the top of his head in his chair
Just
sometimes.
being a child.
He was
being
so
happy
cute
and
and so
relaxed.
funny.
Yeah.
He raises his hand and we said, yeah. And he said, so in the original slide, I had the English version bigger, and then I just showed in a smaller version the Hawaiian book cover, because they both look the same. They look the same, just different language. And I didn't think it was necessary to show them both. Well, he said, is the Hawaiian language book smaller than the English language book? So I thought I better make them both the same size. So that's right. Thank you for noticing, Joy.
I'm sending one to him, the Hawaiian one.
Oh, that's great.
Just
That
so
is
that
so
he can
great.
tell they're the same size.
Right.
And he can compare the pictures and the words.
That's fantastic. And actually, Blaine, who did it's not a translation. She actually tells the story in Hawaiian. So it's the same basic story, but it's amazing. I mean, she just does the Hawaiian from a Hawaiian perspective, this story. So it's really, really wonderful. If you are a Hawaiian language speaker, check it out. And Joy, are you still giving books away?
Yes, we still have lots of books to give away. So I'm going to put the link at the end of the session, so you can say if you want the English version or the Hawaiian version.
That's fantastic. Thank you for doing that. Okay, so the thing that was interesting about writing a book, so Manu, the Boy Who Loved Birds, is about a Hawaiian boy who's named after an extinct Hawaiian forest bird, the o'o bird. So it was really challenging because I didn't have any live animals to observe and to photograph and to sketch from. So it was great with the albatross. I could hang out and really get to know them. With the o'o bird, all I could do was go into the museum and see the dead skins. Like, these are all dead o'o birds. But what I did was, this one was mounted, so I was able to take photographs of it from different angles, so I could really try to bring it to life. So here's a sketch that I did when I was at Bishop Museum. The other source that we have is artists from the time, that late 1800s. So their rendition of what the birds look like, but they were also working from specimens. They didn't work from the live birds because they didn't get to see them. There were very few left by the time people were going out looking for them. I learned a lot about their behavior from Perkins. Perkins was a naturalist that collected a lot of birds and insects for different museums in the late 1800s. And he writes a lot about their behavior because he got to see them, but some he didn't see at all. I don't know if he ever was able to find the Oahu o'o. I don't remember for sure, but anyway, it just shows you how rare they were even at that point. At first I made a poster, art for a poster for Conservation Council for Hawaii, and they made it into an educational poster with all this great information on the back about forest birds, and they distributed it to all the schools in Hawaii. So Manu is a city boy, but he loves birds, and he knows he's named after the bird, and he's just really confused and flustered because he wants to know the meaning of his name. His full name, Manu o'o Mauna Loa, means may the o'o bird live on. And he just can't understand why he's named after this extinct forest bird. And if the bird is extinct, how can it live on? So he's on a quest. He wants to learn everything he can about the o'o bird in the hope that he'll understand the meaning of his name. So he learns things like the o'o bird has a tongue shaped like a straw, like a straw with a little brush at the end. So they can actually scoop up all the nectar within the flower and then slurp it up into their beaks. Writing a book, I can add information like this, and I can add it in a fun way so that kids learn, but they're having fun while they're doing it. I also wanted to show about all the different species. There were 4 different species of o'o. And Manu actually gets to hear an o'o bird. And so can we all hear an o'o bird, because the Macaulay Library, which is part of Cornell Lab, they have this incredible library of all these different bird sounds. So Manu's dad actually helps Manu find it, and he hears the o'o for the first time. And that brings the bird to life for him. He learns all about how the o'o originally migrated, and they came to Hawaii millions and millions of years ago, way before the islands were even the way they are now, and way, way before humans came or even existed. One cool thing that I learned is that I can share things about my subject that I maybe wouldn't be able to share in other ways by having dream sequences. So I used a lot of dreams in this story. So Manu has a dream, and in the dream, he's flying with the o'o bird. So it was really fun to describe Manu imagining himself flying. And that way I could talk about how they fly, like what their flight is like. They do a lot of swooping, and then they'll fly really high over the ohias because the lehua blossoms are that's their favorite flavor, and they would get a lot of nectar from the lehua blossoms. So dreams turned out to be a pretty cool way to share information in a fun way. I see there's another chat. Oh, those are the coloring sheets. Yeah, you can find those for a free download. Okay. In the book, Manu also goes with his class to the Bishop Museum, and he gets to see the beautiful feather work that the Hawaiian people made. And I was really lucky to be at the museum years ago when they had on display the Princess Nahi'ena Pa'u, the incredible feather work that went into that pa'u. It was made with 1 million o'o feathers. So in the story, Manu sees it and he feels incredible pride, but he's also thinking like, wait, all those feathers, where are all the birds? What happened to all the birds? So then he has a dream. And in his dream, I'm able to show how feather hunting and how birds were captured, and they were captured and then released. But it's amazing how people could find the birds and lure the birds by mimicking their song perfectly, and then just pulling out those few feathers from in most of the o'o birds, they had a few feathers growing underneath their wings. So they would pull out a few feathers and bundle them up. And you can actually see the bundles at Bishop Museum. So again, dreams were a way of sharing this kind of information. In the book, Manu finally says to his parents, he's so frustrated because he realizes he's never seen an endemic Hawaiian bird. And he wonders if he ever will. So for his birthday, his parents bring him to the Big Island to visit family, and also to go to Hawaii Volcanoes National Park and see endemic Hawaiian forest birds. Now, I am really lucky because I live in Volcano, so I'm about a mile from the park. And I have apapane in my backyard. It's amazing. But Manu goes, and he goes to the visitor center and learns what the birds sound like, because anybody who knows birds knows usually when you go out bird watching, you're going out bird listening first, because oftentimes you have to hear the bird before you look for the bird. So recognizing a bird's song or call will help you to look for them, to know where to look for them, to know if they're even around. So Manu learns the sound of the apapane, and then he borrows his dad's binoculars and he sees it for the first time. And they're pretty easy to see because they're a beautiful bright red color, and they have those white feathers by their vent. And you can also hear them. He hears them first. And what we hear their song, but a lot of times, like at my house, I hear them flying. They fly a short distance, and what you hear is their wings. The wing sound is like, so they have a wonderful sound of the vibration of their wings. I see some more chats. I'm going to have a look to make sure I'm not missing anything. Should I do that, Joy, or do you want to?
No, it's okay. Yeah, I'll throw it at you if there are.
Oh, okay. So let me get rid of this. And so Manu finally gets to see apapane, an endemic forest bird. Then his parents bring him to the Keaho Bird Conservation Center, which is a real place where birds that are very, very endangered are taken into a place where they can be raised in captivity safely. So these birds are going to be released once there's enough of them, and the habitat has to be restored, because that's the thing that I learned is you can't just release birds that are endangered. They need to have the right habitat with the right plants or the right whatever they eat has to be available to them. Otherwise, they're not going to make it. So a lot of habitat restoration is done along with helping the survival of the birds. And that's one thing that Manu gets to do. His family takes him up Mauna Loa and they do outplanting, which is what habitat restoration is all about. He gets to plant koa trees. And while he's looking down at this little plant that he's about to put in the ground, he looks out into the distance and sees a giant old koa tree in the distance. And he whispers to the little baby koa, "Someday you'll be big too." So in this book, Manu, we also included all kinds of great natural science information in the back and the cultural history in the back. And then we have a how can you help section, which I feel like it's a great opportunity to give people really concrete ways that they can help make a difference for wildlife. The other thing that's really cool, and I encourage, I don't know how many teachers or librarians or parents are out there watching this presentation, but if you go to my website, there are incredible guides for kindergarten through 3rd grade, each grade that these were developed by the Mauna Loa College of Education Curriculum Research and Development Group and my friend Leanne Patch-Highfill. She's an instructional coach and curriculum designer. So she worked from a lot of the research that the Curriculum Research and Development Group had put together on Manu, and she worked this into 3 different educational tracks, and they're incredible, and they're all on my website, and they're free. You can download them for free. They have all kinds of links and activities, and I'm so appreciative for all of these people for putting all of this work into it, and the fact that it's available and it's free. So please help yourself and make use of this. So that's the end of this, of the Manu presentation. Does anybody have any questions or comments? So I wanted to say, but go ahead and say it at any point. But I wanted to say, let me just see how I'm doing with time. Okay, we're doing just fine. I'm working on a new book, and going into this book, it's going to be a level up from Manu. So it'll be for slightly older audience. So if kids use the Manu book 1 year, then the following year they could go to this next book. The next book is a seabird book, and it's starring a girl. So it's going to be a girl who's slightly older than Manu, and she's also Hawaiian, and her mom is a biologist. So she gets to hang out with her mom and learn all about this special seabird called the uwa'u. The uwa'u is a Hawaiian petrel, and here it is. That's the Hawaiian petrel, and I love them. And I got to go to all the different islands where they have burrows, where they have colonies, and they're having a tough time, but people are working really hard to help them and to save them. So moving forward, I'm going to take everything that I've learned from the previous books and put them all into this book. This book is called Finding Home, A Petrel's Journey. So I put together a little slide presentation for you about my journey learning about the uwa'u and all these incredible scientists that are so generous with their time and gave me exposed me to these wonderful birds. So here comes my presentation about the uwa'u. Can you see the slide from my
Yep,
Finding Home?
perfect.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So this is what the uwa'u looks like, and you'll notice they fly at night. And at the bottom is the creatures that they like to eat. And
Mm.
by the coloring, you can see that they are bioluminescent, which means they give off their own light, which is so cool. Have you all ever seen that bioluminescence? Like sometimes if you go to the shore at night in the ocean, you can see the bioluminescence sort of at the shoreline. Has anybody ever seen that? It's
Yes.
wild.
Yeah, we
it-
were swimming with the, what do you call them, manta ray, and
Manta
around it you
ray.
could see the squid. But you know what I like about this picture is you've got the stars at the top, and then you got the, you know, the same luminescence at the bottom. It's so neat.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I like to get into that a little bit of a fanciful approach to it, because you can do that in art and it's fun. Okay. So my research is going out in the field and experiencing these incredible animals and the incredible people who work with them. So I hung out with Pacific Rim Conservation, and they invited me to receive these petrels that nest in the mountains of Kauai. So the reason, what they do is they are translocating them. They're bringing the babies to artificial burrows that they've built that are within a predator-proof fence so that they can raise them. They're feeding them and making sure that they're growing well, and making sure that they get enough food, and then they're until the time that they fledge. And the reason why they're doing that is because in the mountains, it's amazing to think that they're actually being killed off by cats. Cats are the most dangerous predators to all birds, really, but seabirds, especially ground nesting seabirds. So they need, in order for the ua'u to survive, they need a safe place to nest. So I got to see them, the arrival. They landed, they put them in these boxes, and then brought them and immediately weighed them, and then put them into the artificial burrows. And they were quite cozy in there. Then I went to Lanai and to the incredible colony there. And my friend Rachel Sprague invited me, and I spent a couple of days, and it was so fun. And it was such a vibrant colony. So we went out at night and we lay down, and she had the infrared binoculars so we could see them. And they were like dancing in the sky. They're flying back and forth and swooping and chasing each other. And they all make the sound like this. Ooh, woo, ooh, woo, just like their name. So that was amazing to actually experience it. So we climbed up into the colony, and then there's a bunch of uluhe. You can see the uluhe growing here. And if you've ever experienced it, you know it's very, very strong and springy. So we laid back on the uluhe, and I actually could feel the ground vibrating from the ua'u that were in their burrows within the ground. So here's an ua'u in a burrow. They had a camera inside, and I drew a picture. So this is what I'll do with the art. I'll take a picture that I really like, and then I'll draw a picture from it. And I think in this book, different from my previous books, there's going to be drawings in it, not just block prints. So that'll be a fun change. So they have a fence here. Oh, and I wanted to show, here's a couple again in a nest. And then there's an ua'u with an egg. So you see the size of the egg in relationship, relative to the size of the parent. Another thing I'm going to do in the story is share a story that I learned. So on Lanai, my friend Rachel found a dead Hawaiian petrel outside of one of the burrows. And it turned out it was one of the parents to a chick that's inside. So just like the albatross, it takes 2 adults to raise a chick. So what Rachel and her team started to do was give the chick inside supplemental feedings. So when the one remaining parent would go off to sea to get food for the chick, they would come in and give the chick more food. So the chick was raised with the help of the humans and then fledged. So that was a pretty exciting story. So the true test of these, the success of these birds is if they come back. So they go out to sea for about 4 or 5 years before they come back and look for a mate, and then have, dig a burrow and lay an egg and start their own family. So that's truly the success when they come back. But it's amazing to me that they're actually out over the sea for 4 or 5 years before they even come back to land to do that whole process of having family. So here's a picture of Rachel holding this, that ua'u chick. So I did a drawing of that. Thought that was kind of sweet. I also went up to Mauna Loa with my friend Charlotte Forbes, and we helicoptered in and camped up there overnight. And what we were doing was going around to the different nests, the different burrows that have game cameras. So they have cameras on them that the cameras go off whenever there's any kind of activity, so they can see the comings and goings of the chicks. And we actually discovered a new nest while I was there, which was very exciting. Then afterwards, I got to review the game cameras, and I got to see all of the different activities that happen at night that we never see. So I saw one Hawaiian petrel chilling out, and then they would gather dirt. So the reason why they gather dirt is they bring it into the burrow. So up on Mauna Loa, it's just old lava, right? A lot of old lava, very, very short, shrubby trees and stuff, but not a whole lot of soil or dirt. So in order to make the nest softer, I saw them digging and finding dirt and then bringing it into the burrow. So that was interesting. And I don't know if you can see it, but there the ua'u was pooping. I just think it's, it's like, it was cool to see right in my face practically. Another story, another thing that happened on the Big Island, the Hawaii Wildlife Center, which is a wonderful place where they help rehabilitate birds, any endemic or endemic birds flying. They also help bats. So flying creatures that need help, they will help them. So this bird was downed. One of the challenging times for seabirds is when they are first fledging. They're attracted to light. So starlight draws them out to sea. But what happens is they get tricked by our artificial lights, and they'll fly around and around like a street light or any kind of a light, or crash into a window that has a light inside, because they don't know. They just know that they know that light is where they need to go, because the stars will attract them to go over the ocean, which is where they need to go. So this bird was found on the ground, and it was brought to the Hawaii Wildlife Center, but they were able to give it a splint and it healed, the wing healed, but then it went in the recovery pool. It broke its flight feathers, its primary feathers. So, but they were able to fix those feathers, and the bird fledged. So kudos to Hawaii Wildlife Center. Every bird, it's amazing. It's one bird at a time, and they're doing so much to help different species. Then I went to Maui and up to Haleakala, and look, that's me on this very steep hill, and the incredible star. What's the word? What's it called again? This is where the astronomers work. They also have decoys so the birds are attracted to colonies, right? So if they see another ua'u, they might be attracted. Also, they'll set up speakers and play the sound of the ua'u, and that will also attract ua'u. We did find an egg, which was pretty cool. I'm going to show birds in flight in the book. And I'm also going to share about how cats are so dangerous to seabirds and to all birds. But in the story, this young girl, she has her own cat and she loves her cat, but she just keeps her cat indoors. So that's hopefully people will hear that message. So on Maui and Kauai, especially, the lights are a problem. On the Big Island, it's just less people and less lights. And also, I guess, because of the observatories, our lights are already pointed down and don't go up into the sky. So the birds there's less of a seabird fallout, that's what it's called, seabird fallout, when they fall from the sky, because they're exhausted from flying around lights, the human lights. So anyway, on both Maui and Kauai, they have these little boxes where you can place a bird. If you find a bird that's downed, a seabird, and put it inside the box. They collect them in the morning and then bring them to a hospital and try to save them. So I wanted to show you, so I'm working on how the book is going to be laid out. I've written the manuscript already, but it's kind of fun. I actually visualize how a page is going to look. So that's how I'm envisioning it. And then here would be the next page. And that's me holding a bone-in petrel. I got to hold lots of them, both with Pacific Rim Conservation and also on Midway. There's millions and millions of bone-in petrels that have made a huge comeback after they eradicated the rats there. I'm back. So next, let me see what the time is. Oh my goodness, 5 minutes. I'm going to do a quick demo for you. I talk too much. Well, I think you saw what my block prints look like, but this is how I make them. I use these blocks. They're 100% recycled rubber. I love them. And I use this ink that I'm going to roll out. So this starts as a drawing. I was going to show you some of my drawings, but you can see that I carve with different tools and I carve out my design. So I leave the part raised that I want to capture the ink. So I'm going to roll out my ink. I want to make sure that I get a little bit of ink on all of my surfaces. Roll it out evenly so I don't get any big globs of ink on my paper. And next, I take my paper and I lay it down carefully. On my YouTube site, you can see the whole process from the drawing to the transfer to the block to the pulling of the print, if you're interested. Then I use a baren to rub the paper onto the block and try to get all of the ink onto my paper. And then, voila. That's how you pull a print. Thank you. Thank you, Cindy.
From one
Oh,
ink, how many prints can you pull?
well, one good one. But you can re-ink it and pull lots of different prints. I just wanted to show you quickly what the drawings look like and then what it looks like in the book when it's finished. So this was here's a drawing that I did. And you see, it's just like pencil and ballpoint and just a regular pen, right? And then this is so I've transferred that to a block, carve it, print it, color it with colored pencils. And then this is what it looks like in the book. And here's another one. This is when Manu goes to, he goes to see on the Big Island in the park. He sees his first apapane. And here is what it looks like in the book. And you saw this one earlier. So that's a block print. That's just a black inked block that I then color with colored pencils. And finally, here's when Manu, a drawing. This is the drawing from when Manu does the outplanting of the koa plant. And here it is in the book.
So these blocks are huge, right? To get to that
They're
page
big.
size.
Oh, I have to show you. This is a piece that I'm working on now with Hanauma Bay, Friends of Hanauma Bay. So this is a big drawing of lots of different species that are at Hanauma Bay. And we had to choose, and it wasn't easy to choose, but this is the size. The block is going to be this big. I'm just carving the center part of it now. So you see how detailed it is. And can you see, I don't know if you can see that it's kind of, it's pulled away. I carved all of that.
So do you, how many mistakes do you make? And then you have to start again.
Yeah, that's something that I have to really do all of my decisions in the drawing process, because once you carve it away, you can't put it back. So there's no mistakes, because everything that I end up with is like, oh, good, I meant that to happen. Because what can you say? You don't want it to happen, but so I try to make all my decisions. It's not a spontaneous art form. It's kind of like you decide everything in your drawing, and then you have to just pay attention when you're carving.
I think you said you sometimes consult the experts, marine biologists, or
Oh yeah, I always work with scientists. Yep.
So you show them the drawing before you carve, yeah?
Yeah, thank you for bringing that up, Joy. Yes, I always work with the birds, with the fish, with everything. I'm always very, very conscious, and I want to make sure that I get it right. I need to accurately share about whatever species I'm depicting. And that's also in the storytelling. I want to make sure that I'm correctly describing their behavior, what they eat. So always work with scientists and with cultural specialists as well. Yeah. Oh, I see there's some other chats. Anything I should know? Oh, thank you, Cindy. Mahalo. So again, I know that we have to, so somebody wrote, DLNR Forestry and Wildlife also provided us with 4 finger puppets. Oh, how cool.
Yeah, they printed it out for us. And how many did they make? I want to say like over 100 pages, or I can't remember, maybe 200. And then we put them into packs to give away, because they were birds that wonderful. Yeah.
Great. I'll have to check that out. That's awesome. Well, I guess I think we're done, right? 1:30?
Yes, I think Diane's good.
Yes, so thank you so much, Caren. This was an amazing session. Let's all put our hands together for Caren. And I want to say mahalo to everyone for attending this NEA Big Read session. Check out the Big Read website for registration details for other events. You can sign up for ALA, Writing for Restoration in Hawaii, a workshop in nature writing with Krisha Heister on Earth Day, April 22. No writing experience. And thank you again, Caren. This was an awesome session. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. And thank you, Joy. And thank you, Diane. And thanks all of you for coming. And this is a wonderful opportunity, Big Read. I'm thrilled, and I'm thrilled to be part of it. Mahalo.